All right, everyone. So a little bit different today. Today is going to be a little bit of a informative style of a video. So, as you guys know, I have a 2022 Mustang GT. If you do not know, I have had this car now for, man, I want to say I've had this car now for probably going on 4 months-ish or so. So I traded, sorry, I did not trade. I sold my 2012 Shelby GT500, has 700 wheel horsepower. Sold that a week later. I traded in my daily driver for this car. So I got the 10R80 because it is a daily driver. I didn't daily drive the GT500 because it was 700 horsepower. It was a manual. Me personally, I don't like to daily drive a stick shift. This is nice. It's nice to not have to push in the clutch, all that kind of stuff. But with these 10R80s, and I believe also these 6R80s, these have paddle shifters. Now, turn the car on real quick. Close the door. So I don't usually use the paddle shifters in my car, which are these right here. A lot of that reason is because I purchased an automatic for a reason. I don't like to have to manually shift up, shift down my car, but you do have that option if you decide to throw it in sport mode, which is this right here, which I'm gonna walk through all this step by step, how to properly use your paddles if you want to shift your 10R80 or your 6R80 2015 on up Mustang. So I want to this is kind of like for people that just purchased a car that don't know how these are used and they're not sure how to use them, so they stay away from them. Me personally, I just don't use them because I bought an automatic for a reason. It's a daily driver. If I wanted to manually shift my car, I would have got a manual. So that's me personally. So I've used them a few times, but I'm going to walk you through how to properly shift up, shift down, how to engage it, the different modes, so on and so forth. So I want to get this video going and started because it looks like it's about to rain. So we're gonna go hit some back roads and some stoplights, and I'll walk you guys through it. Okay, so in order to just use the sport mode, if you want to decide to use the paddle shifters, you have 2 of them on either hand. Now these are kind of small. You can get extensions that extend it out. You can do different colors. Me personally, I don't have those because, like I said, I don't use this that often, and me personally, I think they're kind of dumb. I don't know, maybe that's just because of my age, and I think that adds a little bit to the rice factor, which is why I'm staying away from it. And I just don't use them that often. So the plus and the minus, shift up, shift down, pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so you won't be able to use it if you just put it in drive. These won't do shit. So in order to use those, you put them in S, which is the sport mode, stick it in S, and then from there, I'm going to be taking off here in a second. It'll engage as soon as you shift up or shift down, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. All right, so it's in sport mode. If you're just driving, nothing will happen. You'll be driving just like it is in standard drive mode. It shifts by itself. So if you decide you want to engage it, all you got to do is shift up or shift down, and from that point is engaged. So I'm going to shift down. See, I don't know if you can read that, but now I'm in 4th gear. Now it won't shift up or shift down unless you do it manually with these paddles. So I'm going to go give a little bit of gas, shift up. Now I'm in 5th. Now if you come up to a stoplight or stop sign, whatever, you don't have to downshift, it'll do it for you. So after you come to a complete stop, right here, see, it's doing it for you, and you don't have to. That's one nice thing about it. Now again, that's another reason why I don't like it, is if you're turning and you need to shift, well, your steering wheel obviously is going to be at a different angle. So that means you have to turn and you have to twist, and that's one thing that I don't like about it, is that. So it's pretty responsive. These things are pretty responsive when it comes to shifting. Now you can also, we're in 5th, downshift, 4th, turn the window down a little bit. and you could do it also manually yourself. Now, I don't have aftermarket exhaust, so I just have the Roush X-Pipe. So it's not going to be as loud. You're not going to be able to hear a lot of upshifts and downshifts. It's not going to sound as cool because my exhaust, as of right now, is still factory. So Corsa or Borla, if you guys are watching this, you guys want to get a partnership together, hit me up. I'd love to work with you guys. All right, so just upshift. But see what I mean? If you gotta chase, you gotta follow the steering wheel if you want to shift. Now, see, I'm in 4th gear. It'll stay in 4th gear until you shift. Just like that. Another thing to keep in mind too, because you are manually shifting it, even though it is an automatic, if you forget that you put it in sport mode, this will redline and you'll bounce off the rev limiter, and that's a no-no. So just remember that you have it in sport mode and shift it, or while you are in sport mode, if you just get sick and tired of shifting, because that's why you have an automatic, all you gotta do, click it into drive, and it'll match the gear that you're in, or it'll go in the gear that it's supposed to. So I did this earlier this morning. I wasn't recording it. I was in manual mode. I was in, I think, 9th gear, because I got the 10 or 80 obviously, and I just went from sport into drive, and then it upshifted automatically in the gear that it was supposed to be in at that speed, which put me right into 10th. So if you're cruising and someone pulls up next to you and they want to hit a roll, or if you're just feeling like you just want to stick it in a sport mode and shift it on the fly, you can do that also. You just stick it in a sport and it'll stay in the gear that it's not going to shift until you shift it now. So it'll be in the gear that it was in drive. If you want to downshift, obviously you can downshift. I was in 9th, now I'm in 8th. I'm going to go to 7th. And it'll stay there until I shift it, just like if I had a stick shift with the clutch. Like I said, I don't use the paddles and the sport mode to manually shift. If I wanted to do that, I would have just got the manual trans, but since this is my daily, I no longer have my daily driver, which was an automatic. I just don't want to have to shift every day. Like, it's a daily, I drive it to and from work and everything else in between. Not everybody might agree. They prefer to like shift all the time, but I love the 10-speed. It's a great transmission in my opinion. And I don't want to have to worry about shifting all the time. So I use it, like I said, every so often, but it's just not something for me. And here's another reason too. If you have to shift while you're turning off a freeway or into another street, you gotta like follow it. You gotta like turn it and go like here, and it's not like it should be. So it's not something I use often. It is starting to rain a little bit, but the roads are still dry, so hopefully it won't get too wet as I'm taking these back roads back here. Went into 3rd. Ah, come on, dude. There's always that one guy that just messes everything up for you. Maybe I'll get in front of him. Let's see if I can get a space in front of me. Got a big ass tank on the back of his truck. So he's going like 12 miles an hour. Alright, so let's see if I can get in front of him. It is good for like country road, a lot of twists and turns. you stick it in sport mode like I am now. If you got a lot of back roads and twists and turns and all that kind of stuff, it would make driving more exhilarating. Maybe it'll give you something to do besides hanging on the steering wheel and foot on the gas and the brake. I get that part, but when I'm in, if I'm going on a cruise or a drive and I'm in sport mode, I usually just keep it in drive and I let the car handle it. I don't do a lot of this kind of stuff, but it's nice to switch it up every once in a while. Another good purpose of this is like if you're doing a roll race, as I said, or you're in, let's say that you're in drive and you want to stick it in a sport, like I said, on the fly, you can stick it in there and you could downshift in the proper gear that you want to be in, whatever that is, depending on the speed that you're at, and you could just, even at the right gear, just downshift again. You could go, and then you can shift it into drive, and it'll do all the shifting from that point on. So it's good to get into the proper gear to downshift, and then as soon as you punch it, you could just flip it into drive and let the car take over from there. So that is another option for the paddle shifting. You can downshift, as I said, to get into the proper gear and let the car take over from there. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close this one out. I just wanted to jump on here and give my thoughts and opinion, review, and kind of like a how-to sort of a video for anyone that doesn't use it that often, or they just stay away from it because they're not quite sure the best way to use them. They're pretty easy to use. I just don't use them that often. So if you guys are watching and you're not subscribed, like I said, please do me a favor, hit subscribe, drop a like and a comment. And as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.